The last speaker on this item, last but by no means least, Cllr Rayner, Chairman of the Business Management of the School.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. It's been a long wait. I've listened to much I tried, but I hope we can clear one or two things up. Initially, I speak as the Chairman of the Business Management Over and Scrutiny Committee. And you quite correctly said that the item was referred back by my committee for the two reasons: to request that the Cabinet Resources Committee address the risk of the restrictive covenant, etc. The committee, when they discussed it at length and in Part 2 session, they discussed and considered reservations that they had about the proposals made by the CRC. They expressed concerns about shoeing in onto the site a school, housing, and where you're going to get all these luxury housings in that space I don't know, but housing and an all-weather pitch. They considered that the proposal was going to hit difficulties in regards to planning, in regards to traffic, in regards to fiscal room, and in particular in regards to the legal requirements around the covenant. Now, we did all, and I'm obviously not going to drag you into Part 2, but they did discuss the Part 2 elements and the considerations around the covenant. But at the end of the day, on reflection, they decided that you should give very, very careful thought to the covenant, and I'm sure you will, because you are that sort of committee. The second item that they called it back on was to allow time for the community bid to be developed for the community use only to be retained on the site. I have to express the wishes of my committee, which indeed said that, to give time, but my question will be, how much time do you give? How much time can you allow? But the BMOS has spoken, and therefore I express the concerns of the Business Overview and Scrutiny Committee, because they would like, but they are pragmatic, but they would like you to give more time for a community bid to be considered carefully. But now I'm just going to take my hat off as the Business Management Overview and Scrutiny Committee Chairman, what a mouthful. And I wasn't going to bring politics into this, but I am a Hale councillor. We are being challenged here by Mr. Dismore, the GLA, and he wants to be MP man. We're being challenged by Mr. Lyons, who wants to take my seat away from me. We're being attacked by Mr. Knackley, who is also a candidate. They are bringing politics into this, and I'm sorry for the Burnt Oak Rangers, because they are being used as a pawn in all of this. They're used as a pawn. We as a council want to provide sports facilities for all groups as best we can. But the Labour Party, I wrote down here, thank you Councillor Thomas, I wrote down here, what was the actual question to the answer that was given? How you phrase, you get the answer depending on how you phrase the question. What was the question again, please, Councillor Thomas?
Councillor Rayner, it was, as the resident of Burnt Oak, I call on Barnet Council to abandon its plans to sell off Pavilion Way fields for housing and restore the sports ground for local children to use.
Well, I would agree that it should not be sold off for housing. I would have said yes to that. I think most of the people here would have said yes to that. But that isn't what is being proposed. That isn't the question that should be posed. We know what the facts are. Now, I did after the meeting. Well, let's pick up another point which Councillor Davey raised. Mr. Knackley, who when I spoke to him I didn't realise was a candidate. I knew Mr. Lyons was a candidate, and therefore I had got my measure of him. But I didn't realise Mr. Knackley was a candidate. And you asked the question, Councillor Davey, what representation have you had from Mr. Knackley in regards to these playing fields? He said he met with me on the 8th of December. Yes, he did. What consultation, what questions have you or I had from him prior to that date? Absolutely zilch. None. Zero. And what I have down here, Councillor McCauley describes Burnt Oak as a deprived area. It is deprived of councillor representation. That's why it's deprived. The councillors didn't even bother to come on the 4th of November. They didn't bother to come to the overview and scrutiny. Councillor McCauley has turned up tonight on his own. You've had Mr Dismore, you've had Mr Ryan, you've had they haven't even bothered to turn up. I'm not even going to bother to turn around and look. But they have not been helping these people over the last 10 years in order to try and develop a plan. So they developed a plan at the last minute. At the last minute.
Sorry, there's another councillor. What about the leader missing?
Councillor, I'll just stop you there, just to clarify.
The two former MPs,
if you just let me, I'll clarify.
With that.
Be quiet, please,
The
Councillor.
leader's missing.
I'm going to... Right, I'll clarify the matter. There is another Burnt Oak councillor, belatedly, yes, in the audience tonight. There is one more.
I didn't see him come into the room, so I apologise. Which one is it? Yeah, okay. But I did speak with Daryl. I did speak with Amar, Nakvi rather, and with Property Services, and with Councillor Moore, and with Councillor Salinger. We had a meeting on the 8th of December, and we discussed around the what proposals were. They said they were going to come up with a proposal. I think for them, because the council are going to pay to develop the land, the council at the end of the day are going to charge a rent on it, but even putting all that aside, you've got these basically nice people who play football on Sundays who are going to be turned into property developers, which is what we're talking about, enabled to develop this site, to keep it going, and if they're going to be doing all this, then they're not going to have time to play football, for goodness sake. And if they why do it now? Why haven't they been doing it? With the advice of their local councillors over the last 10 years. I agreed with them, however, that if the site was going to be developed, that I would ask on their behalf, which seems to be missed tonight. What seems to be missed tonight is that if it is going to be used for playing fields, who in the heck is going to actually pay for that? But never mind. What I did agree to ask you to try and accommodate on the site is a full-size all-weather playing field with floodlights, with independent changing rooms. Independent changing rooms are very, very important because you're next to a school. Now, in my considerations over here, I looked at what there was else. London Academy, which seems to be dismissed as not according with their community requirements. I spoke to one of the head teachers there, Mrs. Trigg, today. Yes, they do. All day Sunday they play football there, albeit it's not an all-weather pitch and it's not floodlit, and therefore it's weather dependent and light dependent. Greenwich Leisure, I would agree. Some of the services there are very poor, and really, if you can bring any pressure to bear to upgrade them, that would be excellent. Orion School, 2,600 square metres of all-weather playing fields with floodlights and changing rooms will be available, subject to the school and negotiation with the school, at the Orion site at the end of Graham Park Way, to go and play football on, not to come and play business with, as you would have to if you're trying to accommodate Pavilion Way, but to go and play football on and do what they want to do. And then, of course, there's the all-weather pitch adjacent to St James's, which I believe it is in the melting pot at the moment to decide who is going to take that over. But I understand there could well be evening use at that site. But the bottom line is, let the footballers play football. There are facilities available. Let the councillors in Burnt Oak, and I'm glad they are here now because they can listen to me, and I hope so listen to the people who they're purporting to represent. They are there to play football, not to do business. We're here to do business. They're there to play football. I would like anybody in Hale, incidentally, to come and see me and to come and see Councillor Davey, and we will discuss and see if we can accommodate your requirements within the existing facilities. And also, I repeat my request, can we have a full-size, all-weather pitch with floodlights and independent changing rooms if you do decide to go ahead with this development. Thank you very much indeed.
That's all right, thank you.
I didn't do my
The people at the back are very grateful. Any questions for Councillor Rayner at all? I think he was very clear in his opinion. Councillor Rayner, thank you very much.
It's a great pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so we've had much discussion on this, we've had questions, we've had representations, and we've asked questions of our own. Are there any questions or comments that members of this committee would like to make either to myself or to officers before we address the issue of the decision this evening? The leader.
Can I just make a couple of brief comments and then I'll be quiet. This deal is very nearly a bird in hand. We would be unwise to discard it. It is an opportunity to have a sporting facility in the burnt oak area, as opposed to the derelict area that we now have, which is a disgrace and looks horrible and is a matter of regret for this council and its predecessors. This is something we need to deal with. This is our opportunity to deal with it, and I believe we should take it now.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. I think Councillor Rayner, the ex-Member Councillor, Councillor Rayner, made a good point about the pitch and the request for it to be full size. And if possible, can we put that into our recommendations or our suggestions going forward? I understand this is for the planning department, but a recommendation from us saying that I think would be very helpful.
Wow. I'm cautious to put that in, because that can be considered as a fresh decision that could cause problems. I think that the question for us tonight is whether to amend the decision previously made or to reject it. And the question of size of pitches can come forward in the planning, during the planning process. As I say, proportions are actually spelled out at this stage, so that's something I'd love to change the decision that we made. We stick by it or we don't.
Well, it'll be in the minutes that I've made that suggestion, and people can refer to that.
Just to say, Chairman, that Councillor McCauley described the area as extremely deprived. I would say that a school with sports facilities and housing is far more important than a football pitch.
Okay. So the decision before us is whether we want to amend our initial decision. Those in favour of carrying on with our initial decision, please show. That's unanimously agreed. So the next steps for that will be a planning application through which there will be consultation. And yes, I think we've done a lot tonight in terms of dealing with the local community, dealing with local councillors, and very much hope that they're involved with what happens on this site. Moving on to item 6, the Quarter 2 monitoring